and Barry Hoven. Get ready for fresh takes, bold stories, and a whole lot of flavor. Oh, yeah. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the Two Forks Podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Two Forks Podcast. I'm Barry Hoven.
And I'm Wendy Tim.
You better recognize. They don't know nothing about that. They're going to learn. So anyway, welcome to the Two Forks Podcast, where we explore life's crossroads and the choices that shape us. As I said before, I'm Barry Hoven, alongside Wendy Warren Tim. Together, we're here to have some honest conversations about faith, community, and the journey to becoming our best selves. Our aim is to shed light on stories that matter, that channel derisive narratives and open pathways towards understanding. This show is built on the belief that every decision we make is a fork in the road, choices that either divide us or unite us. Today we'll cover 3 segments: current events, what's happening in the world and in our community, what's new with us, sharing our personal stories and reflections, and, of course, we would not be remiss without Dear White Girl, a space to find common ground and confront microaggressions with love and truth. See, it's all good, Barry. It's not going to be too naughty. Anyway, you got anything to add, Wendy, before we get started here?
Well, that's a pretty robust intro.
Yes,
I did. Agenda.
I didn't have Miss Gant as an English teacher, so I think I did okay.
But I do, in all seriousness, want to say before we get started, thank you to you. I have to say, when you first approached me with this idea of being a lifelong introvert, this is completely out of my wheelhouse. But, knowing you since the 7th grade, I was like, I think he'll take care of me on this. And I decided to give it a whirl. So first, thank you for the opportunity to be part of your first inaugural podcast.
And I appreciate that. I just keep forgetting about that. The only other person that shares that story, I guess, is Chris Skull. And all the rest of the band people at Sims left by the time we got to sophomore year. They all just left.
Yes, lifelong band gigs. It was band that brought us together. 7th grade middle school, right? Those hardest years. And here we are decades later. I'm not going to say how many decades later. Age is irrelevant.
Music, for as long as there's a song for me to sing. Anyway, I'm stealing from Miss Forrest. I'm going to stop that before I get in trouble with the band people. All right, so let's start with segment 1, current events. Wendy, you said you wanted to talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene.
No, not me. I think something I can relate to in current events was obviously the government shutdown, right?
Okay, right.
So these views are my own, not representative of the government or anything like that. But I've been a government employee for over 28 years. Really? I was an intern in between my first and second year of grad school, and I was very lucky. The government hired me back after grad school. I've had a lot of amazing experiences. This is my 3rd furlough. The first one I can remember being a part of was 2013 in the Obama administration. The second one was part of the Trump administration. And then this third one most recently was part of the Trump administration. But steering away from politics, they are stressful times, right? The information, whether you're in the workplace or just what you hear in the news, is obviously mixed. It's concerning. You have no income coming in. You don't know when it's going to end. And so just coming off that, and then the cusp of the holidays right around the corner, a lot to deal with. And then, 2026 really is just on the heels away from us too. And, there's rumors in the press this could happen again in January. We only have an approved budget through the end of January. So, what is now just getting back on track could be short-lived. But definitely that is something I can very much relate to. A headline I personally lived not once, not twice, but 3 times.
Yeah. I think when we were talking, we were doing some brainstorming about the podcast, and we are talking about the different subjects we want to talk about. I remember thinking back to when I lived in D.C. D.C. is a unique city. I don't think a lot of people in the United States understand the complexity and the nuance of the nation's capital. First of all, it's not really a state, and it's kind of a city, kind of sort of in between. And every 4 years, the politics change,
Mhm.
the people in the city change. Every 4 years, it just turns upside down. So when you have these situations where you have so many people who rely on government service, like completely cut off with no explanation or rhyme and reason, it really speaks to, are we really doing the best for everyone, or are we trying to make victims out of people instead of actually solving problems?
Right. I mean, everyone needs to be big boys and big girls and get in there and work, right, for the good
Right.
of all of the people, right? It's not just about those who work for the federal government, but those who derive those benefits, right? You saw how folks were, as SNAP benefits were coming to an end, they came to an end, what people were doing for food resources. And then obviously during the time, I actually went into work during that time, but you're still not paid until a budget is passed, right?
Right.
And while you get tons of information that there's resources available, from what I found, not necessarily so, right? Um, for example, a lot of mortgage companies said, "Oh, you should reach out to us. We can defer mortgage payments." And what I found was they would defer it and give you like a 3 month forbearance. Because by this point, we were in month 2 of the
Yeah.
furlough and no pay, right? But the entire time, they're reporting out to the credit bureaus, you're not paying your mortgage and it's affecting your credit ratings. And I said, so what is the point of the forbearance? Like, well, so you don't lose your house. I said, but at the same time, you're killing my credit. So a
Yeah.
lot of the resources that they told folks in the end really weren't, but I'm probably aware of some folks who had to do that in order to keep their home. I was very lucky. I had investments and savings, and so I temporarily robbed myself to do all the things I needed to for myself and my family. And then as soon as that paycheck came back in, I went and paid myself back. But it's not a great way to live because you never knew when it was going to end. Tons of rumors as to whether you'd even have a job to go back to. And that's pretty unsettling, particularly, when I've given so much of my time for something I've loved.
Yeah. Yeah. It's here in Michigan, the area I'm in isn't very federally government oriented. There's the Grand Rapids. I guess they have like the one of the what it's Northern District of Michigan, one of those kind of federal buildings, and I think Lansing, the state capital, has federal buildings. But I can say for myself, the area that I live in is a little bit economically deprived. There are a lot more people here who are on public assistance, and I started thinking about that. Coming into the holidays is always a tough time anyway, and with food costs being so high, like $40 for a turkey, $2 a pound. I was like, thank God Charles gets free ones from work, because I was like, I am not paying $2 a pound for no turkey.
And you didn't hook me up with a free turkey?
No, no, no. I might send you. You want a dog? I got four.
Oh,
Pick
I have
one.
a cat. I have two cats. I'm good, but thank you.
So yeah, it really hit my heart. I was like, there are food banks around here and food pantries and all of that. I was like, but maybe the food pantries and food banks need some help. So I actually kind of
Oh,
coordinated with one of
absolutely.
the local food banks and started a food drive and was recording some silly videos just to get people involved. And it felt really good, and people wanted to help. That's the one thing I realize is when we go through times like this, people want to help each other. They just may not know where to go or how to, but everyone wants to help. And
Yeah.
not to be too Jesus-y, but Lord loves a cheerful giver. So when we're giving to other people, it helps us.
Well,
And I think,
what you just said made me think about. There's a great book by a professor. He's passed, unfortunately. It's called was it Randy Pausch, called The
mm,
Last Lecture, and he said the very thing that you just said, that people, for the most part, are inherently good. They really want to do the right thing. Something called noble intent, right?
right,
And I think you see that in most cases. Unfortunately, we don't get to hear those stories. It's the less than positive stories
yeah,
that make the headlines because that's news, right?
right,
Um, But definitely during the furlough here, there was an uptake in the news stories on social media about food banks, even churches that were opening their doors where federal employees could just go in anonymously to get the food they needed.
Right.
I don't know if you know the chef Jose Andres. He has a number of
Oh yeah.
restaurants in DC, right? He
Yeah.
was giving out free meals to government workers. Those were primarily centered in the DC area. But, I think the key thing is for those folks who don't know the DC area very well, like I'm Northern Virginia, right?
Right.
But you have folks that commute all over into DC to work for the government,
Yeah,
not
as
just
far as
Virginia and
Potomac
Maryland.
Mills.
You have
Actually, I
people
think
that,
I knew somebody who came all the way from North Carolina. I was like, dude, seriously. But
well,
that's a
they
place
do.
where there's a lot of money. There's revenue and resources in what it DMV,
Well,
DC, Maryland, Virginia.
I know people who drive in daily from West Virginia, Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
in DC. They will take the trains into Union Station. I knew of a gentleman who flew in from Connecticut on Monday mornings. He worked very long days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then he flew back to Connecticut on Thursday. He rented a room in someone's basement. So it doesn't just hit the DC area.
Right.
I think that's the misnomer in all this, and you don't know it unless you live here, right?
Yeah.
So that's the key thing is people think it just hits DC, but it really doesn't. It can hit some of those other surrounding states as well because those folks have no income coming in.
Well, and also, just on the flip side of that, anywhere where there's government service or public assistance, I mean, like, I'm not saying that I'm really a big fan of Walmart or Target or anything, but
Well,
like
I
if the
am.
food's
Come on.
mm, mm, okay, we'll have to say that for another dear white girl.
Yes,
Those
Target.
the corporate entities and all the goodies that, hey,
Walmart's got
we know
amazing
you're broke.
rollbacks right now. They're in
Yeah.
tune with the economy. Those are
I'm just
headlines right now,
I'm just
right?
glad they're rolling back their CEO because that Doug McMillan was a jerk, and blaming the customers for them losing money because they installed the self checkout machines. Like, well, maybe you don't need. Maybe you should have cashiers and stop being cheap. Okay, in
But
rant.
that's a
Okay,
whole other story to these self checkouts, right? They're not just in Walmart and Target. They are popping up everywhere.
right.
Lowe's, Home Depot, your local grocery store, pharmacies. They're everywhere, and
And
I have to admit sometimes they're a
they're
pain
not
in the
really that
tuchus.
they're really not that they're not that good. It's basically an overgrown ATM. I mean, the money. And when I was at Walmart, that brief time I was there, they were constantly jamming, and people didn't know what to do with them, and people couldn't figure out to use them. The idea is, oh, technology will solve all our problems, and it's like, no, technology is a tool. You still need people. You still need someone to operate the self checkouts. You still need
Well,
people to
that's the
repair the
thing,
self
right?
checkouts.
It's considered an efficiency to minimize your labor, right? So that's a lot, or a lot of people are like, hey, you're not paying me. I want to go to a line where someone checks me out and deals with all that, right? But sometimes, depending on the lines, it's quicker for me to go in and out of the self checkout, right? My only
Yeah.
annoying thing is if I don't bag it in the bag just right, it thinks I've stolen something and
Oh,
I'm basically
well, yeah, there
crazy.
is that. And then I don't know if you've experienced this where you are, but we have like in Michigan we have the big grocery store is Meijer. I mean, technically Walmart's bigger than Meijer, but regionally
Okay.
it's Meijer, which is kind of like a Food Lion kind of thing for reference. And they have the self checkouts. And what I've noticed is, and I hate to say this, but I have to say it, in the predominantly white self check neighborhoods, when you go to the self checkout, it might like ask you for one or two things. One time I went to, I call it Black Myers in Grand Rapids, and I had a cookie and like a pint of ice cream, and it prompted this person to come over to check my cookie and pint of ice cream. It's like they
I
assume
don't know. That
everyone's
seems
gonna
like
steal.
something emotional, Barry. Are you going through something that day? Because that's
Well,
stereotypical in women. If they see women going through with ice cream and cookies, think about all the stereotypical stuff that gets applied to women. Is there something we need to know?
okay, French horn section, quiet down. Good Lord, I knew I was gonna get zinged at some point. All right, so let me give you my current event. But oh well, we
Okay.
kind of talked about it already. Just the food bank and the food pantry thing. And
Well,
I
you're
was
very active in that, right?
not really. I'm more of a community activist, which we'll talk to when we get to the "What's New with You" segment. I want to talk a little bit about that and what that looks like for me. But so I have a nonprofit called Playwell Michigan Foundation, which I founded to deal with Well, I'm a personal trainer and I've been doing health and fitness for about 20, 25 years now.
I know you look like you could break me in half now. You are not the guy I
Nah,
knew in high school.
yeah. Yeah, the sousaphone is light work compared to what I do nowadays. But that's, hey, it
Right.
was my start. But I started my nonprofit, Playwell Michigan, which is wellness, fitness, and fun. Because I realized that if you can help people have fun, they're more likely to stick with a consistent fitness
No,
routine.
that's true.
It's not always about lifting weights and gains and body fat index. Sometimes it's just moving and enjoying yourself. So and
Right.
then I also started another nonprofit, the what is it called? The Lakewood Area Small Business Alliance, and that's the one that is about bringing businesses together, but it also has the community piece, which is, when we see that there's something in the community that needs to be done, bringing people and resources together. And I really have enjoyed it. I've actually partnered now with Feeding America and Cargill here in town, and I'm
So
helping
see,
them.
you are active in local food banks and stuff. You
I,
kind of shot yourself down, but that's not true.
but it just started. It's like within the
But you got
past,
to
6 weeks.
somewhere, right? Think of all the people who haven't even done that. So kudos to you.
It's been really rewarding, and I'm meeting people, and it was the first time going to a Feeding America event, and I kind of went in kind of like a junior varsity cheerleader. I was like, okay, go team, yeah, you go team, and I was like super happy. But
Mhm.
then, like, I just realized you be happy, but be reserved because these are people who like need food. It's
Yeah.
not a party for them. So like
No, it's
So, like,
that.
you want to be efficient, you want to be professional, you
Yeah.
want to listen and understand. And it was, I got a huge sense of reverence from that because you just, there was a time when I first moved to Chicago back in, what year was that? When I first moved to Chicago back in 2006. And I had about $1,200 in my bank account, which lasted 6 months. And there was about 2 or 3 month period where I was living on my own, and I had to get food stamps. And I didn't feel bad about it. I knew I needed to eat, and I knew I didn't have enough money. And um, I think living with my mom and my grandmother was a Depression era woman. She taught me a lot about,
Mhm.
make sure you have
Mhm.
your beans, make sure you have your canned goods. So I was able to survive, and people were just like, "How are you living on so little money a week?" I was like, "Because I
Mhm.
don't have a choice." It's for
Well,
people who've
I had
never been through that, they have no
correct.
clue. Have
My
no
mom
clue.
always says I came up better um, for the hard times growing up, right? Where we grew up, it's a very blue collar area,
Hmm.
right? As opposed to where I live, I would say is more white collar, really premium on intelligence, where you went to school, the neighborhood you live in, the cars you drive. That wasn't that way where we grew up, right? And,
Right.
I too had food stamps in college. And I was the first person in my family to go to college. And there's only so many student loans you could get, right?
Yeah.
And so many grants you can get. I made it through undergrad pretty well, but it was kind of obvious, the sign of the times then, that I needed to have the master's degree too. And I get about halfway into my first year of grad school and pretty much broke. Right. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm able to pay the tuition, but I was either going to be homeless or I wasn't going to be able to eat. And neither's really an option. Right. And
Yeah.
so it was a pretty humbling experience to go down to in Charlottesville and apply, as part of the Department of Welfare. I still have to this day my green Department of Welfare card. And back then, I don't know if it differs by state, but Virginia, it was like this coupon book, right?
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Food stamps, and it was like you had $1, $5, and you'd like rip it out at the grocery store, And I forget what they gave me, $125, $150. I don't
It
remember. It came in
wasn't
the mail.
enough,
Well, it
but it was
was for me.
something.
That was a lot because,
Yeah.
like you, prior to that money coming in, it was just like a very basic salad with chickpeas for 3 days in a row, or I'd get like the smallest package of pork chops, cook them in the oven with some rice, and make it last 3 or 4 days, right?
Yeah.
But even then, that becomes a lot of money when you don't have money. And I was
Yes.
working, right? I was working. I did like student type work that would help pay up my tuition bills and all that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And again, some people would argue I put myself in that position because I went to grad school. But, I argue that, I came back and I've been a public servant for 28 years, right? So I paid that back. I paid my dues. I paid my loans back ahead of time. And I don't think I'd be where I was today if I hadn't made the investment and went through a little bit of hard times to get the education that I needed.
Yeah. I just remember getting to Chicago and being so excited and only knowing two or three people. And
how did you get to Chicago? I mean, I know you did Hampton, you did Army Airborne, you were down, at Fort Bragg or something,
yeah,
but then, there's this gap in time because when we grew up, we didn't all grow up with Facebook and Instagram and all these great ways to stay in touch,
huge
right?
gaps, yeah.
And so when we finally reconnect, oh gosh, we've been reconnected at least 10 years now,
yeah.
right? Next thing I know, you're in Michigan, right? And it's like, how do you get from Fort Bragg, leaving the Army, up to Chicago, in Michigan?
Okay, so oh boy, we'll have to save part of that story for our number 2. Yes, but summary is I moved to Chicago because I was tired of living on the East Coast for 32 years, and I was like, I need to do something. Okay, no. All from go to voicemail. Anyway, I took I got my personal training certification. I was living in D.C. I moved to D.C. in '98 and stayed there from '98 to 2006. In 2005, I got my personal training certification. And I was like, oh, well, you got a personal training certification. You can take that anywhere. So then I I had a friend who lived in D.C., and he had a twin brother in Chicago. And he was like, oh, you don't want to come with me on a trip to Chicago? I was like, yeah, I'll come with you a trip to Chicago. So I went, and I was like, oh, this place is nice. And, it's a big city, and, kind of like D.C., and, I should be able to finagle it and make it work. And at the time, the cost of living in Chicago was actually cheaper than D.C. Now it's probably about the same or more.
I bet you get pizza, too, in Chicago.
The food is ridiculous. That's the only thing I miss about being in Michigan is, like, being able to go down the street and get a $8 burrito that tastes 12 times better than anything you get at Taco Bell. And it's like, oh, my God, this is so much better than that garbage. But anyway, I digress. And then there was a guy involved. We'll have to say that for Dear White Girl, episode 4 or 5. But it all worked out. I ended up meeting my partner now and her husband, Charles. And we just decided it's like, it costs too much to live here. I don't want to retire here. And it'd be nice to have a house and a dog. And Michigan is a little bit more like Virginia. There's a lot more trees and forests. Illinois is very flat. It was glaciated. So it's like a dirt patch is basically what it felt like when I was there. I mean, I learned a lot, which I use today, but what got me there was just wanting, what makes anyone move? It's either stuff is hard and you need a better way, or you just want to explore an adventure. And I took a chance, and I think overall it worked out.
Cool.
Okay. All right, so I guess we're done with current events mostly. Let's see if I can do this right. We'll put that. All right, so now let's talk about what's new with you. All right, let's see. See if I can get this right. 1 A B A B. That goes there. Okay, gay. Okay, I'm not quite control room ready, but close enough. Okay, so in my segment, I just kind of want to talk about Thanksgiving. It was a good Thanksgiving here in Lake Odessa. Charles and I spent pretty much two days cooking and preparing anything and decorating the trees. And this year we did it. We did a slightly traditional Thanksgiving. I did the turkey. I did the collard greens. I can't not do the collard greens. And then I did
corn.
That
makes me jealous. My dad grew those back at home in Hampton, but
really.
Yes, and that's for years where I got my collards, but he doesn't keep the garden anymore.
Yeah, I missed your dad. He was one of my favorite people. He was the one who taught me about, well, son, that's politics. perfect. Yeah,
He
yeah.
still talks that, he's 80 years old now, and
Oh.
he definitely has his opinions on the
You
state of
know
the
what? I
world.
like your dad. I like your mom. Mama Wanda is the bomb.com. Remember that Halloween when we were there eating the fudge and stuff? I think Jenny Dale and Pam Gowens was there. That was so much fun. So
Yeah,
yeah,
those were good times. They went too fast.
yeah, but that's all right. We can bring it back in our own way. I'm not old and bitter yet. I'm old, but so anyway, yeah, we did slightly non-traditional. Charles made his pecan pie, which is ridiculous. It's an Alton Brown recipe, so it doesn't taste like Karo syrup. It's really good. And then did corn pudding
Mhm.
and a brioche sausage stuffing and beets with date balsamic vinegar and gorgonzola cheese and
Jeez, this sounds fancy.
well, you know what? Hey, when you eat Thanksgiving is a meal that my philosophy is try something different every time. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But it shouldn't always be mashed potatoes and gravy and
Hmm.
green bean
Hmm.
casserole. Mix it up. How about
I
you?
have to confess, Thanksgiving is my least favorite holiday.
Why?
It's a lot of work.
Yes, it is.
You're spending a good 2 days plus just
Mhm.
constantly eating, right?
Mhm.
Thanksgiving is a little bit more complicated for me. I have two children with celiac disease, right?
Oh,
So
oh, okay,
gluten-free
yeah.
stuffing doesn't stuff as well in a turkey. It's okay. It's not the same. But I mean, I've gotten used to making gluten-free meals now for, oh gosh, close to 10 years.
Mhm.
And if I have to do both a gluten-free and gluten meal, I can do that. The logistics in the kitchen becomes a challenge because the cross contaminant is
You
one per
you
20
gotta have
parts per
two
billion.
kitchens, don't you?
Pretty much, and I don't have that. I don't think that's going to happen for me anytime soon. That I can put that on my wish list. But even growing up, I don't remember it being my most favorite holiday.
Mm.
It's great. Love the food, the fellowship. Appreciate the day, a day off to just hang out. But it's never been my most favorite
Well, it's
holiday.
interesting. I think when I was a kid, it was always Christmas then Thanksgiving, and now it's Thanksgiving then Christmas. And that's not to say Christmas isn't special, but Charles is Norwegian, and as we'll discover as we continue this podcast, I've been kind of on my own kind of interesting spiritual journey recently. I started off as a 7 Day Adventist, and then most of the
Really?
time in Chicago, yeah, my grandmother was 7 Day Adventist till she died, and then
Well,
living in.
here's your fun fact. You know how people do those genealogy tests?
Mhm.
So gave it several years ago. My dad had always wanted it because he had been told, growing up, hey, you might be this, that, or the other.
Mhm.
And the results come back. I'm a quarter Jewish. I'm,
Oh,
I'm
really?
Ashkenazi Jewish. Had family members in the Holocaust. Didn't know it. So I was
Wow.
joking that he owed me a bat mitzvah. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah,
But
I think you got that. You got that. What was that? What was that car you had? That was the neon.
it
No,
was a neon, my
Plymouth
red
something.
neon.
I
Cutie
remember that
pie.
car. I was like
Cutie
that
pie.
girl. I was like that girl is going places. Look at them seats, and she got the cool fancy seat. I was like Wendy
It was
Ward.
red.
She got it going on.
Always wanted a red car. My first car was red. That car, I basically drove it into the ground. I watched it
Yeah, I
get.
think you said it limped into the dealership when you were trading it in or something.
Now I watched it get towed away from my home here. It got donated to a local charity.
Well, that's good. But I remember that car. I was like, man, Wendy, she's rocking it. But but yeah, what was I saying? Personal updates. Yeah, so like for me, um, and with Charles, a couple of years back, he lost his twin brother. And during
Oh,
COVID, it was awful. Like everybody wanted to see him. He was in D.C. We were here. Nobody was traveling, and he passed. It wasn't because of COVID, but it was during COVID. So Charles has been dealing with that. Dealing with the emotional loss of a twin, which I could never even imagine. I mean, I can imagine just losing a brother or a sister, but like someone who you basically share your DNA with. That's like a deep thing. So part of his way of healing and our way of kind of growing together has been celebrating the Nordic tradition of Yule, which, we talk about Yule log and Yule season, but then, like no one really tells you what it is. And a lot of it really is kind of mixed into Christmas. Um, Pretty much all the holidays this time of year are about celebrations of life, reflecting on what has good and happened, Thanksgiving, giving thanks. A lot of these holidays have the same themes. So we started doing Yule, and like there's this thing in a Norwegian culture called Hugi. I can't pronounce it. It just means a warm, cozy feeling. So you like come home in the evenings when the days are dark. You light candles in all the rooms. You have lots of fluffy pillows and warm, cozy throws. And you just don't do anything. Relax. Maybe a cup of coffee, coffee, tea, or some hot cocoa. Just comforting yourself, reflecting on the season, celebrating the end of the year and all the good things that happen. So we started doing that and saying like Nordic prayers and lighting candles. And I recently discovered that, well, I've always known I have mixed genealogy. It's 92% sub-Saharan African, 14.5% British Isles, and then this 3.6% Native American, which I've known loosely about, but I've never really completely embraced or honored because I've never known any Native people and I've never been around them per se. But recently, being here in Michigan, Michigan is a Native word. I've really been exploring that and discovering that. So I've started doing like Indian ritual prayers and things that help you connect with the earth, um, and opening myself up to the fact that God can speak through different religions and different cultures, and you can still bring that into you in a way that's edifying and gratifying, and it also allows you to connect with other people. So it's been really neat. Um, Turning Christmas not into about buying gifts, but into celebrating life and death, and and being around people, and like doing things for the dogs. Like the dogs get Thanksgiving too. To this year they got ground beef because times is tight. Ground beef and what did I put in there? I don't think I put collard greens in there, but they ate really good. I put all that food in the pressure cooker, brown rice and stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah, so they eat well, and so yeah, the holidays just they sit differently. I mean, if you have, let's be honest, Christmas really is a kid's holiday. It's all about them.
It
Um,
is.
but as you get older, it's a time to reflect on your family and all the connections you have, and hoping for good things in the new year. So I've kind of flipped the script on most of the holidays.
Yeah, I think Christmas was probably always my favorite and probably still is. And, particularly when my girls were younger, Santa was just the amazing part of it, right? The
Yeah,
excitement and
yeah,
the that's there, right? It's so short lived. Time really is a thief and it passes you so quickly.
yeah.
But even now at today's age, every different age and stage brings something different with it. And so now it's kind of neat to see them. They're a little bit more appreciative of the process and take it in a bit more and watch them enjoy it as well. And I know that my parents passed down a lot of like the decorations I had growing up. So that's a big part of the memory piece for me is
Okay.
just what had been in my home growing up is now in my home here. And so that's something I just look forward to seeing year after year. And then
Yeah,
eventually I'll
it
pass
goes
on my
on. It goes
bit.
on. Yeah, I think my sister got all of my mom's Christmas ornaments. I don't know if that's because my mom gave them to us, or she went over and stole them. A little crook. Anyway, but I digress. But Charles and I have been building our own Christmas ornament collection, and we have one for each dog. We have to get one for our fourth dog, Roxy. We've only had her for years. I guess I got to get a little pit bull ornament for her.
Yeah, I
Um,
had that same tradition with my girls. So every year they get an ornament. So as we decorate the tree, I have went and bought an ornament that I think reflects something about them over the year.
okay, yeah, that
And
makes
so
sense.
now, though, I've had so many ornaments. And then I also have the ornaments my parents, because my parents had a very similar tradition for me, right? And so now those ornaments are here, and now I'm almost overrun with ornaments.
Well,
But
you
it
just
just is
start
a nice thing
stacking
to
the
have.
ones you're gonna give to them, and then you can do what You could do what Charles does and buy a bunch of Christmas trees and decorate 8 trees.
Well, we historically used to have like six. So we are down to 3.5-ish. So we used to do one in the family room, one in the living room. The girls each had one in their room. That was three. And then we'd put one on the screened in porch. That was six.
Okay.
But that's part of the things that as they age right now, like, that 4-foot tree that historically went in the room, they're not as necessarily into that as much. We keep them around, but for sure you can see the one behind me in the family room.
Yeah, that's
one
a
in
nice
the living
tree.
room. And then my middle daughter had always wanted a flocked tree, the ones that looks like it snowed on it.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a little cute one, and we're going to put that in our foyer.
Okay, all right, okay. So you got it going on. Yeah, I guess this does tie into community. So with my Playwell Michigan Foundation, this year I decided that I wanted to be in the local Christmas parade, which is maybe 3-4 blocks long. So it's nothing like the ones we used to do. Remember that? Remember those
the bridge at Hampton University where everyone would pass out?
Oh yeah, that's not the one I remember. I'm thinking way back. Remember when we were at Sims and we had those ugly red burgundy shirts that were like paper thin, and we had to march in the Christmas parade, and it rained. I think it was in Williamsburg, and it's like, and the red leached out of the shirts into your teeth. Everything turned pink. I was like, this is. I was like, oh my god.
And remember we marched on Mercury Boulevard in front of the Kmart.
Oh, I love the Kmart.
We did the Hampton Christmas parade, and then we did the one by Hampton University, and then Phoebus Days. Remember Phoebus?
I love the Hampton Christmas parade. I love that so much. Like, I didn't like marching down Mercury Boulevard. I was like, this street hard.
And it was long.
Was that back when we had to wear the white shoes?
Yes.
And had to paint them with the white stuff, and everything would turn white, and ugh. Times was hard. These kids don't know how easy they have it with these uniforms and bands.
No, they really don't. Our uniforms were the worst. Remember, they were like
Q-tips and
70s.
Woolite. Ugh. I actually have one of those tops upstairs. I don't know. I think I got it from Heather Hurst. I have
my Q-tip hat.
Oh, okay. We can put a little Franken outfit together. I got one of the old KHS jackets. I have one. It's not my size. I think it's smaller than me, but I have one. I'm thinking about framing it at some point and putting it up. So yeah, with the community thing, so we're gonna be in the Christmas parade this year. So I'm lucky. Like one of my clients' son has like a car bed flatbed, so she's gonna pull that over here. I think Sunday, and then another client is donating a truck. So me and Charles are decorating a Christmas parade, and the theme is gonna be fitness Christmas. And I got all my DJ equipment, and I'm working with one of my clients who's a dancer, and we're gonna come up with a dance routine. So like all of this stuff. Plus, with another nonprofit, the Small Business Alliance, we're doing a pop-up Kris Kringle market. Just for small vendors who don't have a lot of stuff, who need a space to like share their wares. And I don't know if it's gonna be super successful, but my philosophy is here's a meeting place downtown where people can buy stuff and people can just mingle and socialize. And, just mixers.
You're giving somebody a chance, right? Because it really is hard, particularly as a small business, to get that first chance, right? It's like comedians getting that first big break, right?
Right.
It's the same thing for the small business. So you're giving them an opportunity that maybe someone else want to give them. So I think that's awesome.
And then also helping the small business owner down there who has this space. I think he rents it out for weddings and stuff. I was like, well, you're in a retail sector. You can do shopping events too, So we'll see how that goes. Fingers crossed on that. I'm feeling good about the parade. When I get my dance moves down, I guess I'll have to demonstrate one of those. And I told her, keep it simple. Electric slide 2.0. None of that Bob Fosse jazz hand stuff. Go Barry, get busy. Remember, I can still.
How can I forget? Go Barry, go Barry. Those were the days, right?
They were the days. Now, if I do that, I get bit by my dog. So they're like, yeah, you can't dance.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say like you break your hip or something.
No. Wendy warned Tim, I don't have all this gym squat rack stuff to be breaking no hips, girl.
This is true. You're in far better shape than me.
Okay, so all right, so let's see. Okay, hey, we're doing good on time. Let's turn the corner. Let's see if I can do this right. I wasn't able to get the sound effects. Hopefully it won't do anything weird. Let's see. closely weird enough. All right, so it is time for Dear White Girl. Now, disclaimer: Dear White Girl is not about picking on people. It's about observational humor and conversations about things that we have in common. And how would I describe it? Intersections and understanding things from other people's viewpoints. I think it's very easy to just assume, oh, I know everything about this, I know everything about that, and I know everything about those people. But everybody's different. I think it's important to open ourselves up to having conversations about our similarities and what makes us unique. So,
Yeah.
On today's Dear White Girl, we're going to talk about the patron saint of Dear White Girls, Haley Holbrook from The Help. Have you seen that movie yet?
I have.
It's a really interesting movie. Now, to be fair, it's been very Disneyized. Like, the villains are super good and the heroes, the villains are super bad and the heroes are super good. So it's like an oversimplification. But for me, I took a lot out of that movie because my grandmother was a maid in the South, pretty much for the same family for 50 years.
Wow.
So when I watch those characters and I see how these women were like basically taking care of their houses and taking care of their families, and the Haley Holbrook character would always go out of her way to remind people that she was, in her mind, more superior than her.
Right.
And then she would wrap that up in her Christianity. God said slaves should be happy. Well, you shouldn't really have slaves anyway, so I don't know if that's, like, I don't understand the logic. So it's we talked a lot about this, and you talked about your experiences dealing with microaggressions with people who you think of as allies or people that you're like, hey, we have something in common where we can work together, but they feel the need to be better than you, so they can't work with you. They work against you.
I think empathy is hard for a lot of folks, right? And until you have walked in someone else's shoes and had that same experience, you just have zero ability to judge. You really shouldn't. But we do, right? We're humans. Right. We're quick to have opinions, passive aggressive. Everyone's entitled to their opinions, but it doesn't make it fact. It doesn't make it accurate.
Right.
And I think empathy, sometimes I feel like it's something someone either naturally has or they don't. Empathy is very different than sympathy, right? You need someone to empathize with you. And it's just not a skill many folks have.
Man, you know what? I think this is going to really, this segment, now just talking to you and listening to what you said, I think this segment is really going to end up being more about mental health and spiritual health and just teaching people, like you said, look at things through others, try to step in someone else's shoes or look through someone else's lenses on a situation before you make snap judgments about people's lives and what you've heard about. I guess I'm stepping my toe into the pot here a little bit. But one of the hardest things about being black in America is the term is called code switching. It's where you talk a certain way around different people and you can go back and forth and be interchangeable. But then there's situations where you don't code switch and people are confused. Like I remember when I got out of high school and was going to, after I started working out and got in really good shape, I would go to like West Virginia or like Western Virginia, UVA area, and people would see me and go, "Oh, you must play on the football team." No, I just work out.
Well, you've taught me something. I've never heard of code switching. Now, is that something just inherent within your culture, or could that be applied across the board?
Well, everyone code switches in their own way.
Absolutely.
It's just like the easiest example is you have your phone voice, or I used to work at West Teleservices over there in Fox Hill. You'd have to have on your, "Hi, thanks for calling for the Ron Popeil toast and chicken maker," and would you like shipping, or like you have your voice that you have when you're instructing people. You have your voice you have when you're talking to your friends.
Yep.
My
So
army
true.
voice,
So
F
true.
bombs on the left, F bombs on the right. I remember when I
Yeah, I've got
came
my
back.
podcast voice now.
Oh, that's the same old Wendy we know. Ain't nothing changed. Just no hand up in the French horn. That's all. So yeah, so like everyone does it. It's just, um, I think sometimes it's nice to not have to do it.
It
And
is.
that's where I've had challenges here in Michigan. I've lived in Virginia, I lived in North Carolina, I lived in D.C., I lived in Chicago. But Michigan, at least the part of Michigan I'm in, I'm like 2% of the population. It's not very diverse here. And so most people are friendly and nice, and most people watch too much news. And then they see you coming down the street and they gotta grab their purse, or you walk past their car. This happened a lot in D.C. You walk past someone's car and they lock the doors. It's like you're gonna come and jump in the car and get them. And it's the little microaggressions. I mean, like I was talking to Charles about something about this last night. And he was talking about how like sometimes people they'll see someone who's black, and they were like, "Oh, you have such good diction." And it's like, shouldn't everyone have good diction? It's like, is that a plus or a
It's a
minus for me?
stereotype. I mean, I've had someone tell me, they didn't say it to my face, but they said it to others, and it got back to me that I didn't come across as very intelligent because of my southern accent.
Wow. Yeah, that's when they start slicing you. Um, I remember when I was in Chicago. I normally during the holidays I grow an afro because my stepdad had afro. So it's like
Mm.
kind of my homage to him. This year, not so much. Maybe in January when it's cold, can't get a haircut, I'll grow one. But I remember in Chicago, whenever I had my afro really, really up, puffy, and big, like people be like scared of me. It's like it's hair. I don't. Why is like? Are you like? Did you like fall asleep on Kojak and the guy with the afro was
But
the
there's
one that was trolling?
stereotypes. It's like you say what's in the news. There's stereotypes, right? And you never know. There's a couple great memes out there where it shows like a young white child and a young black child holding hands, and it talks about how racism is taught. It's not innate, right? Because you have nature
Right,
versus nurture, right?
right,
And I think there's a lot of truth to that, right?
right.
Um, there's a lot of truth to that. When I think about growing up back home, I really don't remember a whole lot of race discussions.
It's interesting you
Um,
should say that because I, I can comfortably say I've experienced more racism in the Midwest than I ever did living in Virginia or North Carolina. I'm not saying it was zero, but like there was never the assumption that, oh well, he's a black person so he probably beat him up. Like what? Like what? Because I'm black, I beat people up. Like, or oh, I was so scared. He got his voice got loud and he was trembling. Yeah, most people
mm,
who are upset do
yeah,
that. That doesn't mean I'm trying to kill you. I'm having a human emotion, and those are the microaggressions that hurt the most. Wendy, honestly, it's like when someone, like most people who know me, go, "Oh, Barry, he's so nice and sweet." Yeah, I have another side too. I will cut a bitch and beat her with her own shoe. I'm not. I have all the same emotions that everyone else has, and I don't appreciate people telling me which ones I should and shouldn't
hmm
have to
yeah,
keep them comfortable. And I gotta say, that's really what 51 has done to me. I'm tired of the bullshit. I'm tired
yeah.
of it. I've lived my whole life. I feel blessed to have gotten as far as I have with the things that I have. I'm not going to let anybody disrespect me. Um, at some point, we should probably have a conversation about my experiences in the Army with Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
Oh,
That's
yeah, that would be a good one.
it's a very pivotal part of my life as far as like understanding who I am and what I'm willing to put up with and what I'm not willing to put up with. And I think that's a lesson that everyone needs to take because in the world of gaslighting and blaming people for things out of their control, like the microaggressions really take a toll on people. I really feel
Yes.
like uh, a lot of what kids are dealing with today is what we having to deal with, but with like instant messenger attack, like constantly being barraged with people attacking them and cutting at them. So it's not a surprise that they're having all these issues in the public
Right.
education system because we threw technology out there before we really had a chance to figure out how it affects people. And it's screwing up adults, so you know it has to be screwing up kids.
Right, right. Of course. I mean, think about when we were growing up, Barry, you didn't find out about the party you missed until you got to school on Monday.
Right.
And now it's in their face as it's going on.
Instantaneously.
I can
Instantaneously.
think about times my daughters had asked somebody to do something and the person would, oh, can't, I'm busy. Well, it's true they were busy, but they were off with a group of girls who probably she would have liked to have been off with. And to just have that pop up on your phone and it doesn't go away, it's always there, right?
Yeah.
Is incredibly hurtful. And it does a lot mentally and emotionally, to your psyche, how you then go back and interact with other folks.
Right.
It really can do a lot of damage. So, obviously, with anything, there's a blessing and a curse to it. I was grateful for social media. I got back in touch with people like you because we didn't have this, when we were growing up. I'm not going to say how long ago. But
AOL dial-up, girl. AOL dial-up. Get off that computer. I gotta call the grocery store.
Yeah, right. You have, and it's like you have mail or you have no mail, right?
Oh
It
yeah.
like you had no friends, right?
Download some. I'm gonna have to download some sound effects for the next one.
But stuff can really get thrown in your face, and it's kind of like what you see on Facebook and Instagram. I call them highlight reels. A lot of folks do, right? Because it just looks like everything is so perfect in someone's life. Chances are it's not, right?
Oh my God, yeah, that is one that's a topic we should also cover because I deal with that as a personal trainer. Um, um, a lot of the body image issues around I want to look like this, I want to look like that. There are a lot of really serious issues with steroid
Sure,
use and like
absolutely.
teenagers now. I mean, it's always been a thing, but now social media, oh, you just get all these steroids and then you'll look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, or you could die, or you could just die.
Right. I mean,
So,
and that's, now with the weight loss drugs, I lost, he was like a brother to me. I lost a super, super dear friend. It's coming up a year in December. Um, he was placed on it. He thought he needed to lose more weight. I didn't think he did. And then he went to the doctor and saying, "Hey, I want to lose more weight," and she upped the dose to the point he had a fatal heart attack
oh my God, is
the
this
day
one of the
before Thanksgiving.
Ozempic things or something?
Yeah, it wasn't Ozempic. It was one of the like generics or off
Oh,
brands for
okay.
Ozempic. But I to lose him at 42, he was just like a brother to me. He had the heart attack, and it was just close to a year ago, the day before Thanksgiving, when the phone call came in at 6 a.m. and to lose him a week later, he just never recovered. So,
Yeah,
there's a blessing and a curse to everything, right? There are some people who need help to lose the weight. There's lots of different ways to do that. Sometimes pushing themselves away from the table and working out just doesn't help them, right? We don't understand everyone's biochemical makeup and everything.
so for me, yeah, I've seen that a lot in dealing with personal training, but also when in a previous life when I was in women's fashion and fashion in general, I worked at Wet Seal and Ann Taylor Loft, and people just come in and they're just like, I have to get into this size. I was like, but it doesn't fit you, so you don't have to get into it. You have to find the one that fits you. But we live in a society where it's like you should look like this, you should look like that, and
Mhm.
you should feel like that. It's like, oh my God, I I'm really lucky I had the spiritual upbringing I did. 'Cause I saw so many people when I was in D.C. and Chicago like almost lose themselves because like there's this image that they have to live up to in order for people to pay attention to you. Well, if you're a good person, people will pay attention to you anyway. Image comes and goes. It's the character
Yes.
you should be building. And I know that's not something you can put on TikTok, but it's true.
I mean, I always say good should stand on its own 2 feet, right? A lion, it's a lion. An elephant, it's an elephant. They don't have to tell you. And if you have to tell somebody you're good, chances are you aren't.
Right, yeah. I mean, or yeah, like blowing your own parade, blowing your own trumpet in your own parade. It's cute for a little while. Then it's like, oh, what about the rest of the band? Is it just all about you? Um,
Well, I mean, I teach my girls this, no one's going to look out for you but you. You're your best advocate. So there are times to do that, right? But like I said, the Facebook and the Instagram, these people who, you talked about it working in the food banks and that sort of thing. I think that's fantastic. But if you're constantly posting it and you're doing it and you're taking pictures of yourself there, are you doing it for the right reason?
well, I mean, I think, yeah, there's someone Okay, I have to watch my words here too. That's someone I recently met, and this person invited me to their, like, what would you call it? Like a fitness and wellness page.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, I'll join. I'll see what it's all about. And it's like, as much as it's about her like wanting to celebrate other people, she's constantly talking about, oh, I ran a 5K race and I ran this and I ran that and I ran that. And then like she made some comment on my post, and then I was like, well, you're entitled to your opinion, but the way you said that makes you sound like a not a nice person. I said it that way, and she couldn't take that because everything I do is great and perfect, and everyone loves me. Why don't you love me? And it's like, oh my God, Becky Sue, everything's not about you.
That's hard for some folks.
Right? It's just like this need to be in the spotlight, and I think people sometimes try to accuse me of that. That's not really what I want to do. I don't want to be famous. I'd rather be infamous. And I just, if I can help somebody with the things I'm doing and the people I'm interacting with, or I can make someone have a better day, then I've done my part. Like I think you remember you telling me about me sending you a letter when you were in college at Virginia Tech. I forgot I did that. And then Justin Denlinger, wish. Justin Denlinger was telling me about, I guess when he went to college, I gave him a Bible and wrote a really neat inscription in there. I was like, oh, I forgot all about that. So it's like sometimes.
Do you know, gosh, I think it was our junior year of high school, you gave me for Christmas, and I still has it. It's got the wood at the top. It's like a scroll, and I had it hung up on my bulletin board, and I moved it here. It says, you're a friend, and it says, you're a friend who passes every warm and heartfelt test for being true and the very best. I still remember that. I mean, it's a long poem, right? I don't remember all of it, but that's one of the phrases in that poem, and you gave it to me.
And it's just like it comes back to you. When you do good things for other people, it comes back to you. And I think people need to stop thinking about good things as what's in it for me and be like, what's in it for the universe? I'm putting it out there, and it'll come back to me, and it'll help people along the way. I think positive vibes is what we need. I think we need
we become a bit of a very, you've got yours and I've got mine society, right? I don't disagree. You have to look out for yourself, but everything needs that balance and threshold. What it is, I confess, I don't know, right? Because times especially are hard right now, right? Yeah. And I think life experiences can make you be a little bit more looking out for yourself more than others. So yeah.
But yeah, gotta find a balance. All right, so let's summarize this segment with my word soup here, or whatever this is. So here's the lesson. Sometimes even people of faith and of good intentions fall into the trap of microaggressions and biases, actions that hinder love and unity. Christianity calls on us to love our neighbors and to forgive and walk in humility. Let us not become weary in doing good. For in the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. We must continually challenge ourselves to do better, and that begins with acknowledging our own shortcomings. My hope is that we can approach each other with kindness and understanding and the willingness to grow. Instead of labels and division, let's be networks of love, building bridges rather than walls. When we do that, we move closer to the light in all we do. Yeah, wow, we really did kind of take it on there.
It's deep.
Yeah, and as we close today, I want to remind everyone, every fork in the road is a choice. Will we walk in fear, division, or love? Our community's strength depends on how we choose to show up, whether it's through small acts of kindness or bold acts of justice. Remember, let us each please our neighbors with good intentions. Build them up. When we lift each other up, especially in the challenging moments, we reflect on Christ's love and light. So my challenge today is to look around you, see where you can build a bridge and be a blessing for others. Be a beacon of light and hope. Serve for the better good, so we can all come together for a more unified future. thanks for being a part of this journey and a part of this
Thank
path.
you.
And I'm really looking forward to this, Wendy. We're gonna have fun. And
We are going to have fun.
when I get all these technicals together, it'll really be rocking and rolling. It'll be DJ Scribble Scrabble over here on the iPad. But again, thank you so much. Anything else you want to add before we sign off?
No, just to follow up, you had such a deep, profound quote there. And I think a lot of it goes into authenticity. People need to be authentic and themselves. They create so many facades and wear so many masks. And it can be hard to get to really know someone because of that, right? Yeah. And so if we can just be more comfortable around each other and be a little bit more open-minded and a little bit more open arms, it might make each day a little bit easier.
Yeah, that's all we're asking for. Love is all we need. Well, that a good taco. So everybody, thanks so much for listening. We'll figure out a time for our next podcast. I'm thinking it's probably going to be weekends. I don't know about you, but my weeks are pretty crazy. We just lucked out here on Thanksgiving.
Yes.
All right. Well, have a good day. And
thank you, friend.
Yeah, take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.